Salutations, my fellow Zodiacs. As you may or may not be aware, I am your host, Mrs. Mischief, and today I have prepared for you all a short story going into my series and playlist titled Modern Tales of Mischief. If you enjoyed this story, then please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. Also, remember to turn on notifications, and I am open to suggestions for future stories if anyone should happen to have any requests for specific topics or genres. Now then, grab your snacks, relax, and prepare to enter a world of mischief. A Crop of Despair by Mrs. Mischief. It was another quiet day in Chloryville for local farmer George Miller. The middle-aged man was busy harvesting his crops for the day. He had just enough land to manage to grow a sufficient amount of food for him and his wife, Martha. Taking the back of his hand, he wipes away the sweat from his brow, then slowly looks up upon noticing a curtain of darkness befalling his cozy farmhouse. Ah, shucks. Well, I might want to check some of the crops first before picking. Least Martha should be back soon anyways, George said as he continued to reap the field. Meanwhile, Martha was at the local convenience store, which was located just 10 minutes' walk down the road. They lived so close, in fact, that she felt she needed bother to start up their old rust-brown-colored pickup truck to spare them the gas. She briefly scanned the aisles, stopping for a bit to pick up 2 bottles of green apple dish soap and a 12-pack of sponges. Continuing on, she proceeds to gather an assortment of items, including multiple bottles of hand soaps, cleaners, towels, and a new sweeper mop. Eventually, Martha makes her way over to the front of the store, placing her items down in front of the local cashier, a teenage girl with bright red hair and a comforting smile. The teen rings Martha up and, after seeing the total, glances up sympathetically before stealthily giving Martha a 20% discount. "That'll be exactly $25, Mrs. Miller," the teen says with a gleeful smile. Martha, noticing the price difference, has her face begin to warm up, and with a small yawn, she thanks the girl with a pleasant smile and picks up her 2 bags and proceeds to head back home. Sometimes it feels like the trees get greener and greener every year, Martha says on her walk back. She then notes that the weather seems to have changed suddenly, spotting storm clouds on the horizon. It might rain tonight. Oh, I sure do hope George gets them crops out. They don't need that much water, Martha says as she begins to narrow in on her farm. George pulls a haul of crops aside just as Martha enters the kitchen. "Hey, Georgie, I had a nice stroll over to the market and got some things." "Oh, I see you pulled in the crops. I'm assuming those are the ones that don't need overwatering," Martha says with some sarcasm. "Martha, baby, you won't believe just how juicy the vegetation is this time. Oh, how the rest are gonna fly off the shelves at the market," George says, before pausing, looking down at the bag. With a huff, he exclaims, "What? What the hell is this? Worms? Nope, not before my harvest. No, this can't be. Not now. Look, Martha, look! The bastards ate my corn!" Martha looks over and sees 8 eaten ears of corn, as well as 7 apples that have had holes burrowed through them. She gasps, "George, we'll have to call Glenn. You know he offered us free pesticide if we ever wanted it. Plus, his is safe on plants," Martha says with her hands on her hips. "I'm not ready to give up on my pesticide-free banner, Martha," George asks. "But you're willing to give up on all the crops altogether?" Martha relents. George mutters, I'll sleep on it. An early rest might fix this. I'm tired anyways." Martha sighs and agrees that she is tired too from walking back and forth at the market, and so the pair retire for the night. Sleep does not come easy for Martha, as she is plagued by a horrible visage of an indistinguishable, inky darkness that almost forms a coherent shape of a small-sized person towards the end of her nightmare. It speaks out to her in a gargled sort of tongue.
"We for rot must start."
Sweat pours down Martha's panting face, and she is propelled out of her unrest. "Martha, did you have that nightmare again?" George asks consolingly. Martha winces in pain. Her face scrunches up as she cries on his chest, holding him tightly before responding with a tortured, "Yes," then buries her face in her shirt. "You've been having that nightmare for some time now, Martha," George says before Martha interjects. "I know what I saw, George. It's worse now. The pain, it's different. It feels fine now, like this is the end, George. Something is coming to an end." Hey, it'll be fine. We're fine," George says as he finds a way to hold Martha even closer to him. "We're going to have a nice rest. Everything will be better in the morning, and hey, I'll even let you sleep in like I know you love to. I promise I won't bug you or nothing," George says in a catering tone. Martha hugs him, saying, "Oh, okay, dear," before the two of them head back to sleep. Hours later, George awakens and gets out of bed. He flips on the switch to the bathroom, but the light doesn't come on. Noting that the power must still be out from the storm, George leaves the room and heads downstairs to check on his crops. However, when he gets to the door, he is greeted by the sight of dried worms, some of which were forcibly pressed up against the seams. He notices that his once lush backyard is now a dark, sodden mess of entirely eaten and rotten through crops. Martha awakens groggily. She sits up and notices that George is not in bed. She shifts the sheets around, searching for the remote to the TV, and promptly turns it on. "This is Vicky Spies of the Chloryville Morning News. Today, it's been 15 years since the tragic disappearance." Zzz. Martha yawns and cuts off the television, then heads downstairs to see George. George attempts to call Glenn, but there's no dial tone. Damn it. The storm must have killed the phone lines, too. He slams the phone back down in the receiver and leans up against the wall as he pauses and catches his breath. Martha enters the room as George turns to walk away from the phone, and then suddenly, there's a ring. George picks up the phone, eyeing the caller ID. However, there is only a single tilde. "What's this squiggle? The phone lines are all messed up," he says before Martha asks, "Who's that? Is it Glenn?" "Don't know. I'm sure it's probably just Glenn. Here, I'll put it on speaker. Hey Glenn, is that you old..." George is interrupted by a shockingly familiar young female's voice on the other end of the line. "Mom? Dad? Hey, it's Sarah. I've been trying to call you guys for a long time now." Upon hearing her unmistakable voice, Martha staggers over to the sink to vomit. Shaking in utter horror, she coughs up 3 long, dark leaves of seaweed. What's your name?" George struggles to get the words out. "Oh, Dad, it's me, your little princess. Sarah, remember?" she says confidently. George takes a step back and slips on a bottle of Martha's old sleeping medication. Grabbing it, he looks closely at the label. Martha, is this the... George stammers out, looking over to her. That's impossible. I stopped using that stuff after we... Martha was interrupted by Sarah. What? Tell me, Mom. After you what? No, baby. No, please. Martha pleads, but is yet again interrupted by Sarah. I gave you time. The carpet starts to feel wet and begins to move under their feet. It wriggles and writhes as Sarah continues. I gave you time. You're no longer my mother and father, and I'm not your princess anymore. I am the queen of worms. The end.